Hello, Martin. Welcome to episode 116 of Illuminating Rounds. How are you doing?
Hello, Dave. I'm good. Yeah,
good?
Thank you. I've been very busy.
You have.
Digging a hole.
Digging a hole.
A very long, two long, thin holes because I got to repair a retaining wall.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. That's my life.
It's a great story.
I'm very proud of my hole. I'll have you know.
Many people have said that about your hole. I mean, what has entailed in repairing a retaining wall?
Well, I've got a sort of a big shed. I let it out actually to a florist. She works in there, and the damp course is below ground level. So there's like a trench, and there's a retaining wall to stop the soil falling into that trench, so it stays dry. But over the years, leaves and mud and all sorts of stuff has gathered in there, and I've been too busy. No, I've been too lazy to keep it cleared out. And also because there are trees growing, it's collapsed the wall in one place. So I've dug the trench wall along, and I've cleaned out the other one, which was just compacted, kind of like mud. And we're going to repair the wall. So I've got a guy, a friend of mine, is going to help me to repair the wall.
Okay, you're going to supply the labour counters, and he's going to.
I think I'm going to be doing things like handing him a trowel or whatever, that sort of
a trowel, yeah,
that sort of thing. Pass me the trowel.
No, Martin, the shovel.
Yeah, that's right. I go, which one's the trowel? Yeah. So I'm going to be pretty useless, but it's good to have friends like that.
It's very good. It's very, very good. Okay, good stuff. We
played like a man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. You've often felt like a man. And when you find one, you'll let us know. We played Melting Pot. We didn't play something from Denon. We set out with the view to play something from Denon, and there wasn't as many scenarios as we seem to remember from that pack. We've already played one of them.
And we'd already played one. I think that was the killer, wasn't it?
We'd done one for this channel as well. So we changed our mind and went to something again from Journal 15. Melting Pot is what we played, and we'll talk about that in a bit. We're going to talk about Ponyri, aren't we? Ponyri?
Yeah.
Ponyri.
Slaughterer. Who knows? I don't think anyone knows how it's pronounced.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's a mystery.
Ponerians do. But, so, I mean, we can crack on with that. We're going to talk a little bit about the starter kit tournaments as well. We've got that all set up and ready to go as well. So that's the thing. And then we'll talk with Toby's feedback, of course, about the growth HASL rules. Apologies, Toby, for forgetting your intro and outro part of that. Slaughterer Ponyri, I'll just skip over that quick pronunciation. In the UK, £175 in.
And this is a second chance games, is it? That's second chance games price, yeah.
And that's pretty much the only place you get ASL stuff really from reliably these days. And in America, $176. I know you could have got the cheaper price if we pre-ordered, which we didn't, or we're not able to. We're not able to pre-order anymore. That's expensive. That's expensive.
It's quite a lot of money, isn't
it? I would put myself on the more affluent side of ASL players. I don't know. I mean, definitely not the most, but definitely, shouldn't think twice about this kind of stuff. And I don't know, I'll say 50-50 on purchasing it. So it's a HASL and not a core module. So it's in theory completely optional, I guess, is how I would rate that.
Yeah.
But it hurts because it would be the only MMP product I haven't got. So I want to know your thoughts on this, and can we come to a conclusion about whether we should own it or not?
I don't know whether we'll come to a conclusion today publicly like that. I'm looking through games, so there's quite a few comments about it, aren't there? And actually, there's a lot of positive stuff about it. In fact, there's a Bob, who's a British ASL player, has contacted me to say he's got an aerial photograph of the battlefield, and he was looking at the new MMP map, and he thinks it's spectacularly a good representation of the battlefield, which is really impressive. And of course, it's been 25 years, hasn't it? They reckon they've been developing it, so I suppose a lot of love and attention has gone into it, and man hours. but the issue really is 175. You've got what 12? I mean, we haven't seen them. We should say that, shouldn't we? But there's 12 scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can get them up.
That's what you would get in a at a Schwerpunkt pack or whatever. If in terms of how many actual scenarios you get. Obviously, there's the campaign game.
Yeah,
and there's an incredibly large number of units, isn't there? Of counters, sorry.
Yeah,
so I've been told there are 37 T-34s.
Yep.
Now, the only reason I suppose I would need 37 T-34s, I'm presuming, is if I play the campaign game of Slaughter at Ponyri, or possibly the monster scenario. There's a monster scenario, isn't there?
Yes, that's what I'm just trying to grab. So, yeah, there's a very, very, very big scenario. I mean, archive, which we know overestimates these scenarios, so don't take this as But you go from a 2-hour scenario of the 11th hour to the onslaught resumes at 71 hours. Now, it won't be 71 hours, but I mean, I would say it's probably a 3-day,
2 or 3 days. You have 3 days probably. Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't mean 4 days, but and then obviously the large campaign as well.
So I think to get the real value out of this, you wouldn't be if you're going to get value out of it, you're not playing a 2-hour scenario on a tiny portion of the map. You've got to play the campaign game, haven't you, or possibly the monster?
Yeah.
You're not a big fan of monster scenarios. I don't think I'm a big fan of monster scenarios. But campaign games can be good. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no. I think really we've only really done the first bid. And I mean, I'm trying to think of another big one we've done.
Yeah, I think there were different reasons why you didn't enjoy that.
Yeah, sure.
It's not that you don't enjoy monster scenarios; you just don't enjoy being absolutely smashed to pieces by elite Germans with flamethrowers, and all you've got is
elite
conscripts.
ASL players.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It wasn't much. It wasn't much fun. I think that was the thing. I think, and everybody I've spoken to since then has talked about the fact that you needed a particular mindset to play the Russians, as in, your back against the wall.
Yeah. So you weren't mentally prepared for that,
right? And I don't know whether the campaign game or the scenario in Slaughter has that same feel. Maybe it's a bit more dynamic. I look at the size of some of those scenarios and think I would rather play a Hatton in Flames style campaign, which is a little bit more manageable. We did the St. Mary Glees one, which wasn't crazy. I don't mind there only being one campaign game, by the way. I think that's reasonable. I always think that there's a scope to have more in a journal, and maybe that's a plan. Obviously, we know that there will be more scenarios released for Ponyri because we're playtesting one in the tournament that we're running here.
Yes, that's true.
So there will be another one, at least one more coming out. I assume there's some more coming out.
So here's the thing, right? So if you are not a completist for the sake of it, but you're a person who likes to play ASL, and like yourself and more or less me, you have all of the official products. If we don't buy this, there's going to be an action pack come out with scenarios on the map, which we will never be able to play. Or at least we won't have the products to play. And there will be possibly parachute counters.
Yeah, there's some sappers and there's some assault engineers and some bits and pieces that we won't have. Yeah, and I mean, I think the slight concern is, like, for example, there was a few tournaments we played where we needed the second line Russian counters, which I can't even find anymore. I don't know where my second line Russians have gone, but they're all gone. There's a whole bunch of things like that where suddenly you're missing counters, and it's frustrating. Like I don't know what's happened to mine. So we've got a problem. Like if for example there's tournaments that feature either those scenarios or those campaigns, and tournament organisers have a problem as well. I guess with the St. Mary Glees, which was the HASL, they've fixed that problem because a lot of those counters came out in Twilight of the Reich subsequently. So
that's true.
There was enough.
You got the choice,
yeah, counters in the core module effectively of Twilight of the Reich, which you could argue maybe didn't need to be a core module. Could have been a HASL instead. But I always separated out core modules and HASLs in terms of, well, predominantly the price. I mean, I thought, kind of a core module is going to be the requirement for the the completion of the set, but also that you are going to get all the building blocks for it. And so Ponyri, in a way, is not going to be that. It's going to be a self-contained module. But £175 feels expensive.
It's a lot of money. It feels a lot of money. And the thing is, they're bringing. I mean, this isn't a bad thing, but MMP are bringing things out at quite a pace at the moment, aren't they? So you've got, you've got some quite expensive products,
right? Because you've got the drop zone ones coming out at some point. Yeah, I don't know if they're doing a huge number. I hadn't thought of it like that, but I'm aware, and so $233. We can't pre-order in the UK, so that's another thing. And the other thing about this is presumably pre-tariff pricing, and I assume that this stuff gets printed in China as well. So there's a potential that this will be the cheapest versions of those size of HASLs going forward.
Possibly.
Maybe it's even going to get more expensive. So yeah, I'm completely on the fence. I would love to be convinced that we should be buying this, and we'd be crazy not to. I think if this was, I'm trying to think of a price point where I'd be, because it's 4 maps, but not geo boards, so 4 maps, a bunch of counter sheets, the campaign game, 12 scenarios, and the rules. I would have thought that pricing would have been somewhere around the £70. I would have thought that was, and maybe I'm out of touch now with inflation and costs and everything. And it is important to note that we are paying not just for the physical points. That's a key thing. We're absolutely paying for the play testing and the design elements and people's time, and MMP need to make money and all of that. And I'm a clear capitalist, so I don't mind people making money. But I don't know how many people are going to be buying this one. I don't know if it's going to be, if it's going to put people off. I don't know. I saw there was some discussion about asking if people could have the module without the counters, and the problem with that is that those counters are probably $2 a sheet to print to MMP, whatever, maybe even $4, but they're not. It's not going to be crazy compared to the whole price of the products. And if you just take the counter sheets out and take $15 off the price, it makes everything else seem even less value. Because now you're buying 4, whatever it is, A1 sheets of paper. Yeah. And you are buying, whatever it's going to be, 25 pages of rules and 12 scenarios. And now you're going to be paying $150 for it. I mean, it's just, and it will get to the point where, I don't need the scenarios now because I can, what do I need? Do I just need the rules? And suddenly, 25 pages of rules is costing you $125. It just doesn't make any sense. So I can't see them,
because people could absolutely say, I don't need the maps because I'm going to play on Vassal. I don't need the counters because I'm going to play on Vassal. But I still want to, obviously you still want to buy the product.
Yes.
Because that's the right thing to do if you're going to play it. But you've got the, but then you're literally buying, the 12 scenarios. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the point you were originally making is a good one, is that you're not paying for those bits of cardboard. You're paying for the countless hours of that the game was in development. And that's worth something, isn't it? And I don't mind that being quite a lot, but I agree that £175 in the UK is a point at which some people will definitely not buy it. And me and you are definitely, what we're saying, 50-50 at the moment kind of thing in terms of whether we both buy it. Having said that, people have been quite positive about the map. It might be quite a good campaign game. But then even if we both buy this for, £350 if we both bought it, and then we spend 3 days having a great time on a campaign game, are 3 great days worth £350? It's an interesting question, isn't it?
That's right, exactly right. And I
don't
like to
do that to go on holiday for 3 days, but not used to paying that much for a game.
And this may well be the state of the world right now in terms of prices are more. I think the more we are out of work, for example, I know you've just come out again, but inflation happens and you tend to not notice it if your salaries aren't going up at the same rate, and and all this kind of stuff. So I think there might be an element of that where we think that everything should cost the same price as it was when we were little.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Young and excited when Doom Battalion.
So perhaps we are just turning into those old men that used to go, things used to be too Bob or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so I don't know. I guess we will talk to some people about it and find out if people are enjoying it. And yeah, I mean,
do you know what? I want to buy it. I just don't know what I'd do with the counters.
Yeah, well,
that gets to me sometimes, that I just can't be organised. I mean, I can't be organised with easy things in my life, let alone managing the vast numbers of counters. Yeah.
You've got a hole to fill in, so I don't know whether you could.
Perhaps I'll just tile the wall with counters. It look good. It look great.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll keep an eye on this one, and I guess we'll let people know if we end up getting it or not. That'd be interesting. So, okay, melting pots. Shall we talk about melting pots?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, certainly.
So let's jump onto the map here. Do you have a copy of the scenario to hand?
I do indeed. Yes, I'm a professional.
You are. Okay, so do you want to talk about what's going on here? Who's where?
Yeah. So I'm playing as the Germans. You can see the Germans are set up there, and the British coming on from the bottom. They're actually the Irish Guards.
Okay.
And I think they're American tanks.
They are American tanks, the Wolverines,
Yes. But it's actually an American tank destroyer battalion.
Right. So interestingly, I think you pulled the counters here. I don't remember pulling the counters.
I'm going to say I hadn't tweaked that because I hadn't read it carefully.
So I'm assuming that these are the same counter as
I assume so. It's possible they have slightly different depletion numbers or something, but I imagine they're identical.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll
but that's interesting. Anyway, so the Germans set up there. They've got a tank, a Panzer IV-J, perfectly capable of taking out the Wolverines. Of course, the Wolverines also equally capable of taking out the Panzer IV. There is a 75, so it's a Pak 40 anti-tank gun the Germans have as well, which is a 75L, also able to take out the Wolverines effortlessly, turn them to butter.
And the tank matchup is very similar, isn't it? They've both got about 8 armor at the front. They've both got to kills of about 17.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not quite certain, but it's not quite mutually assured destruction. But it's pretty much either of them can take the other one out,
right.
Easily on a half decent roll.
Exactly.
But you've got 3 of those. The British got 3 of those tanks. With the Americans, It's also an armored car with a 3 anti-aircraft machine gun defending there.
Right.
And otherwise, the Germans have got 8 squads.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the American counter. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So the British have got to capture 4 multi-hex stone buildings, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, which when I had listened to that, I was like, oh, you've only got to hold on to 3, but 3 is not right. It's 4. So we both need 4 buildings basically.
Yes, that's true. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah,
it's quite interesting because I was very worried about this scenario. So whenever you take multi-hex buildings and you've got multi-levels, the concern I've got is that you're just going to deploy, run upstairs, block stairwells or whatever it might be, key entrance points.
Yeah.
But you can't really do this in this one. I thought you could, but you can't because you've got to hold 4. You can't split yourself across 4 buildings and try and hold the last 4.
So you've kind of got an Alamo at the back, so that little area around the church, you've got 3 there.
Yeah.
So it also means you can't afford. You've got to at least hang on to one other, and that's assuming that you hang on to all of the ones there.
Yes.
So that's quite interesting. The Brits are quite strong. They've got 11 squads, good leadership, a 9-1 and 8-1, Piats, things like that. Obviously, the 3 tanks. But this is very, very important. They get to place 4 smoke counters where they want at the beginning of the scenario.
Yeah, I like that.
And the uncertainty about smoke completely taken away with that SSR.
Yep.
and absolutely allows you to respond to the German setup.
Right. And it was
I've got no
also
hip except for the gun.
it's also mitigated by the SSR as well, that says no gusts on the first turn. So everything is catered for you for the first turn, you can guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my plan was to try to get everybody on one side rather than spread it out. I thought about, nullifying like kind of the 4 main kind of hexes at the front, but figured that I would get caught by some open ground shots on the way. And so I thought, okay, well, put the smoke in as best place I can to get everybody in. Now the problem with this angle of approach is it's quite far away from this building over here.
Yes.
And that's a struggle to get to. So I'm basically coming from the furthest point.
Yeah.
And I mean, 6.5 turns, it's a bit of a rush. But,
no, I agree.
And of course, the classic problem of 7 morale troops attacking units in buildings, in stone buildings, is always difficult. And I've got open ground to.
Yeah, and I've got dummies as well. So there's I look a lot stronger perhaps than I am.
Yeah. So if we think there's four stacks of dummies in this set, I think is the thing here. Yeah, you had to show I was trying to think, this was the one that you didn't have to show your weapons. You've got to show your weapons in the concealment stacks. So so my plan is to charge up the left hand side and then try and jump in so we can.
Yeah. And now that I know where you're coming from, my plan is to collapse so I can bring my strength together as the game progresses.
Right. So you are unconcealing everything through the fact that the medium machine gun up here can see, or this guy here can see. Yeah. Can see.
It's at level 2, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got some first firing straight away. And we should keep a count out your sniper. I'll try and spot the number of sniper activations I give you. I mean, obviously I'm rolling well to give you snipers, no question.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a few snipers. That Piat is going to have a fun time. We're going to watch possibly the best ever long distance shot of a Piat you'll ever see. So yeah, in they come. In come the tanks. Just don't want to lose them. That's my kind of key thing these days, is try not to lose tanks. Don't know if this up here is your tank or this one here. We know one of these is the armored car and one is the tank, but we don't know which one's
correct.
Which.
Yeah.
So a little bit of firing and a little bit of advancing, and all relatively safe, I suppose. I mean, I think no casualties.
You've achieved your first goal of getting on.
That's right, yeah. So you start up here, and
it
is the armoured car, which is blocked for that line of sight. That was harsh. If that was a real game there, Martin, would we say that was a clear line of sight there?
It's not clear, is it? It's blocked.
Well, no, you're right, and I'm agreeing. But like, if we laid a string on that on a board, would we? I suppose we would say it was still blocked, but
I guess so. Depending on how accurately we did it,
do it with the old shoelace rather than a little thin bit alone. Anyway, so off goes the armored car, and at this point, the Piat, this terrible rules mistake. Don't panic, bingo card guys. We'll correct it. But the Piat has this shot. Was it a 7x range? Gets a critical hit or something on the have a critical hit on the Piat to blow up the armored car, and you comply, and I get excited. I'm thinking, it's funny, I never realised Piats are this good.
They of course they're not.
And then within a couple of turns, a couple of things, I start thinking about wait a minute.
We put it back,
wait a minute. This thing's got a range of 3, it's not got a range of 8 or 7 or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kept there, and and all is right with the world again.
So here's me skulking, of course, and moving a few guys in.
In comes the tank as well. It's a nice position here for the tank.
I don't want to leave you guys. I've got something on that left-hand side. I don't want to completely abandon the open ground.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And here, this is a great defensive line I think you've got here. I think this is really good. Looks really strong. It looks like you're going to get back into the buildings okay.
And most of it are real. Most of them are real units. Yeah.
Yeah. The Piat jumps in. You don't take a shot against the Piats. These guys get
No.
bumped, and you've got a half squad with a mortar there. It's kind of
That's
surprised.
right. I don't because I know that you're going to have to cross open ground, so I want to use the shot for that.
Right.
I can always final fire.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a possibility that the tanks will do that.
That's it.
But then the tanks have been busy, haven't they, for a turn for a unit that I was sacrificing. But yeah, I was saving the shot for the guys crossing the open ground who were going this way.
Now, I don't think I thought I'd had to put this tank around here to try and make sure it's forced to surrender, but actually, there was no.
There's nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, there is now, but I didn't need to put this tank here anyway.
Oh, I see.
Because by what I've done, it stops him routing away anyway with the open ground. And in fact, it's the same thing. So he could have gone further around. And I think this tank here really needed to be trying to get round here somewhere a little bit quicker. So
I'm quite happy with my half squad sacrifice, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Things are a bit slower now for me. Getting up to the smoke line, and kind of conscious that you're definitely going to get some shots.
Activating a sniper.
Yeah. So we wound your leader here. This is your 9-1.
Yeah. And I think that's my only negative modifier leader.
Right.
Wounded straight away.
Yeah. I think that's the last time my sniper gets activated as well. I think. I seem to remember my sniper counter sits there all game now. Guys start routing. You surrender, and we are advancing up. And at this point, I kind of said, well, it's interesting because I think, in a way, I've played a good game. I mean, it's always relative to our ability. But I played a good game here. You've played a good game here. And I started to say, well, it's interesting. This is like, I'm not trying to exaggerate our skill levels here, but it feels like if two players play well, this is kind of the look of what you're going to get. And I mean, look at how difficult this is to attack.
Yeah.
In terms of it's very hard to punch through here. And I was like, I mean, yours in particular was a spectacularly well coordinated defense.
I mean, obviously there is a couple of dummies there, and there's a wounded leader that looks like a full squad. But and I've got the height as well from the church. Yeah. With the medium up there, and I think that's a really important position for holding that building till the end of the game.
Right.
That half squad in that up in the steeple is going to be very difficult for you to claim that building.
Right, and I've had my little Wolverine down here with the 9-1 has been hitting it a couple of times, and we'll see how he gets on. So the tanks are off and moving again. You get your 1-1 on. What was the 1-1 from? You have a nice shot, something. Oh, it was the residual that I completely forgot about.
Oh, right.
But yeah.
That'll teach you not to run through residual.
Yeah, exactly that. So tanks get into, you've got obviously 2 hex range Panzerfaust at the moment. It's 1944.
Yes, but I am mostly in stone buildings, so I have to think twice about it.
You also, you have anti-tank magnetic mines as well.
I do, yeah. And we'll see me using those later, or trying to.
Yeah. Okay. So we jump into close combat. I didn't put the guards in. I just left them out, but this wasn't much
it's a dummy.
fun. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. And he held up the left-hand side quite well, so it was nice use of the dummies. Good retreat in here from you. So you've come back with almost everything intact. I think you've lost a dummy and a half squad.
Yes.
We get a little bit of shoot at the armoured car. Great spot for the armoured car, by the way. You've got to go both those. Anti-aircraft gun can do it.
Yeah, in any direction, yeah.
I get a hit with the tank,
yes,
and take out completely kill half square.
KIAN. Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit more nervous now, retreating into kind of almost vacating the forward stone buildings in that main line there.
Right.
But I am firing between. Oh, well, actually, here I move forward. So this is next turn that I start worrying about that.
Right.
Because of course you can get into the stone buildings and then you're well protected. But the idea is to fire in between them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
you protect the approach. Yeah.
And we mentioned
that's why the tank is positioned there. Actually, is to fire down that.
Yeah, this
down
open
that
the
road.
orchards, and here,
Yeah.
And we mentioned that this is obviously quite a built-up city kind of, or villagey kind of thing, but it's quite open. There's quite a lot of line of sights all around.
There is, quite small buildings and stuff. Yeah.
So
and there you go. But that's my weak point. Seeing where that 6 residual is, seeing you approaching down that sort of relatively safe route.
Yep, I double won my rally attempt and then double six the results. So disruptions. We end up here getting the tanks around. Oh right, so here. So the Wolverine comes around.
Just how good they are, because I'm going to lose the gun duel.
Yeah. So I come around here and we talk about the point. So so the tankers. Let's just back up a bit, and we'll talk through this. So the tankers come around here, the Wolverine at the bottom, and gets to here, turns, stops, and he's going to fire at your tank here. And you do have some options here in terms of going into motion.
So I should have gone into motion. I think.
We talk about the timing, don't we? So this is the question about like when is the point to go to, and the rules are quite clear about you can't go into motion after I declare a shot. But of course that assumes I'm giving you the appropriate time to
to reflect. Yeah.
And I think it went along the lines of me saying sort of 13 here, 14 stop for 14, 15 delay, and you say okay, and I say and shoot. And so because you were working out the gun duel stuff, and I think we were perhaps a little bit unfair on whether you wanted to go into motion or not, and I don't know if you wanted to. But
I don't think it matters, does it?
It doesn't matter. That was the good thing about this.
Yeah.
But this is a six to hit here. Sorry, 7s to hit here. So
7s to hit, I think. Yeah.
Which is crazily good for like a bounding fire shot on what is a really well placed tank of yours. And yes, of course, I think the right thing is it was going in motion, but it doesn't make a difference because I hit a 4 rather than so it would have been a 5s to hit if you'd gone into motion. That's there. Although to be fair, looking at it now, actually, I think you would have got I think it's still a hit, but you would have got the hedge as well. I don't think we included the hedge in that shot, but
I should have had the hedge. Yeah, do you know what? I think we might have done, but that makes it a 6. But anyway,
it would have been a hit regardless. But yeah, so you get your sniper, which is the Scant constellation for the burning wreck that appears.
Yeah.
The tanks go off to do their victory. Victory dance here. Now they're suddenly opened up with a bit of space here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, plenty of fire comes back at these guys.
Yeah.
And they pass the morale check, which was very useful. So,
and I think this is it's from that tank. It's when I begin to feel I was feeling quite confident, and it started to sort of slip away a little bit. I felt.
Yeah, the armored car is taken out by one of the machine guns.
Yeah. I haven't got the medium machine gun and no real way of repossessing that weapon.
Right. Yeah, you can't get up the stairs with it. Yeah, it's a steeple. So yeah, these guys start to lay down some fire. We're pushing him, and at this point it's looking a lot better for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, you've cracked it open, no question.
Yeah. So yeah.
Now I don't understand what I'm so I'm thinking about reinforcing this melee.
Yep.
And I chicken out, as you'll see in a minute. And that was such a mistake. It would have been so much better to get another squad back over the road while I still could. Right.
Yeah, because you came around this way, and you're right because the problem is even if you win this melee, there's a huge amount of fire going to come in, and if, for example, one of the tanks manages to take you out before the squads have to move, then it's a completely open route to these buildings, isn't it? So I think you would have had a decent chance of either tying me up or whatever, but it also ties a couple of your
Yeah.
guys up.
Absolutely.
So it was
Yeah.
a tough choice for you.
Yeah. But having moved there, I probably should have gone in.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Yeah, you dilly-dallied then, didn't you?
I dilly-dallied, yeah.
Yeah. So back comes the guys here.
Mm.
You were thinking about this because my broken half squad down here, and you were talking about whether you were going to go break this guy, and I think my squad down here had been pinned. There was talk about whether you had to do that, and I think you were kind of working it out whether you should kind of DM it. I think you did the right thing of just deciding not.
I think I did the right thing. I mean, if I was still in strength in those stone buildings, then there's the possibility of breaking your guys and them struggling to come back if I've got something behind you. But that isn't not what's going to happen now. So I do the right thing and try and extricate him.
Yeah, I take the shot here. The site's blocked. Generate your sniper. Snipers are 1. And of course, what happens? It goes and kills the it kills the broken guy anyway.
Going after, yeah.
So this is the tank. Oh yeah, the tank gets a double 1 on the to hit for the infantry target type, and a double 1 on the effects. So that was a
that was another double whammy. Yeah,
that was pretty good. I think I try another few shots here, but you've pulled back, and it still looks tough. I think for the British. You know,
I wasn't so sure.
Only 2 turns after this. Yeah, this is quite useful. Little break there.
Yeah, I think I do actually bring him back. Actually.
Yeah. And here feels okay, but again, I mean, you know, if I can't break this building in the middle, it looks like he'll be pretty good. I get this tank here, probably a turn too late to try and secure the road. And now comes the okay. So this is
my next big mistake. Yeah.
The anti-tank gun, that reveals itself to take the shot. Obviously,
and it's blocked.
Yeah, can't see.
Very obviously blocked. Yeah. I've got some uses for the gun, but
and that gun will do well. It still will do well.
It does do well. It does do well.
Encircled those guys in the road, but that won't really make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Back they go.
And then you're pushing these guys forward.
Yeah. Now I won't get into this building first. You will get there.
That's true.
A bunch of melees here. I mean, I kind of really went for this here. But all my guys are now tied up, really. I mean, I've got...
I survived both, don't I think?
Yes.
But we did make the point that all of your guys are tied up at the end of your turn.
Yep.
The chances are that you'll resolve those melees in my turn and therefore be able to be free to move, which is the important thing.
Yep. Your gun is starting to have an effect. It starts to get quite a few hits and rates of fires and bits and pieces, as they do.
Yeah.
You get another sniper.
Yeah, breaks that.
Yeah. That's which you took out I think you took out your own prisoner guys and my...
That's right, yeah.
Your guys are routing back. Oh, okay. So here now you send a unit to harass the tank.
Tank, yeah.
And we get some dummy reveals here.
I mean, the unit that goes to harass the tank is a dummy.
Yes. Now, I know that one of these is a dummy, but I don't know which one. So it's either the top guys up here or these guys here. And it's...
Yeah, no, the top guys are important. They're real because they got to get in, keep control of that building.
And that's where I thought you kind of tipped your hand a bit in that, here's me mouthing the gun and of the tank.
Yes.
Which is quite a big thing.
So I'm starting to think I could win again.
Yep. You do some damage to me in the in one of the close combats, but I win it. And then the second one, I kind of clear that one out as well.
Yeah.
So you're right. So 2 turns left.
You got a lot of stuff to move. Yeah.
2 turns left. I've only got 2 buildings at the moment. So a lot to do. I didn't think I was going to win at this point. I think this was the feeling where this was going to be too much.
I thought you were going to win.
Okay, yeah, this is quite
But the
interesting.
gun does really, really well again.
Yeah. Here at this point, I'm
Cuts
just
off your advance.
just happy just to get you to do some stuff, fire or whatever at this tank.
And I think I kept rate of fire as well.
So here I decide I'm going to ignore that thing. If you've got a real unit there, you're going to reveal it. You didn't, so okay, we know he's a dummy. And now I want to just kind of sort this guy out. You come out and try to do the street fighting. You don't get your anti-tank magnetic mines, and you miss the street fighting.
That's right. That was the first of several attempts. I love anti-tank magnetic mines because you've got a reasonable chance of getting them.
That's right.
But not this time.
But as we found out, rolling a 6 on the anti-tank magnetic mines pins you.
Pins you.
Now
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you still get to do the attack, but obviously at -1 of the CCV. So this guy now is going to go and try and capture that building on the right-hand side. So we've obviously got to just run past that dummy. You go to unrevive. So we haven't got to take him off yet because I didn't promise you.
But you know exactly what he is. But he still potentially gets to take us a sniper hit, doesn't he?
Second double one on a residual shot that I'd forgotten about was here. But I'm okay. Those crew exposed guys aren't fun.
Yeah.
And again, just trying to get you to shoot at this point. And if you don't shoot, that's fair enough. I'll be in a nice position.
Yep.
And we are.
And I break that stack with a 9-1 leader in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It starts to look a little bit more possible.
Yeah, my sniper wakes up and gets rid of the dummies that we already knew were dummies.
Yeah.
A little bit of fire in here. And if you're broken.
You're in close combat for the church and for the anti-tank gun.
That's right. That's right. So these 2 shots here. Now, we're looking for, what are we looking for here? 4 buildings. So we have 1, 2. We're about to get this one here for 3. So we need 1 more of these with 1 turn to go.
Yeah.
So.
And I've got to try and think about the best way of making sure you don't get that.
That's right. So in close combat, nothing happens up here. He's not on level 2, by the way. This is where the counter. There you go.
I think you do kill a half squad. You casualty reduce me in the church.
In the church, okay.
And so I've got some very interesting choices.
Right.
Do I reinforce these melees?
Yeah, this was a really good move you did here. Really good move.
Oh, yeah.
The top left guy there, DMing those guys.
Oh, you'd have swarmed me with all those guys coming back.
Yeah, exactly. So you DM them, get back in. I don't try and repair the machine gun, the main armament, because I think that's...
So he's the insurance moving into the church, advancing into the church. And if I lose the melee, I still have the church.
Exactly that, yeah, exactly. You come down here... get another good move here with your other 467. And I think at this point, you are looking great. I mean, if you think about this...
So do you know what? The guy in R3, that's a single man counter. But I now know you can't take that building unless you can get a KIA on him. Because all he's got to do is break and route upstairs.
Yep, exactly.
So I thought that was a good move.
Yep.
I've got to reinforce the melee with a crew.
Yeah.
Because if you take, or do I go to
this 467?
Yeah,
this 467 might jump in.
Yeah, 467.
And this guy down here, the S7 guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
he's the guy I misuse. I put him there. What I was thinking was, I'm trying to prevent you getting to the broken leader. The broken wounded leader. And I want to be able to subsequent and final fire in R5 and R7 to stop you getting infantry around this unit here.
Right.
What I forget is that involves parking itself in front of 2 tanks.
Well, and also that I've got barely any. I mean, I've got one half.
You've got very little infantry now. Yeah.
I've got so
to go
little
that way.
Yeah. I mean, you reinforce the melee here. Not sure that was also necessary, but maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Maybe you could have just come in here and then risk the shot. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, the thing is, if I can get there, I can still, who knows what was best to do? Yeah.
But anyway, I don't win this melee. This is your,
Yeah.
this is your last turn, isn't it? Because this is
Yeah. But I don't, nor do I kill you.
That's right. Yeah. And then I kill the crew in here.
Yeah.
So we've got this down to a full squad against a full squad.
Yeah, but you can reinforce it potentially.
Yeah.
But you've got so little infantry. That's the
exactly. And I had to keep this guy back just in case you decided to run for one of the buildings on your turn. So at this point here, I'm able to.
You get a hit.
Yeah, I hit this guy and
Broken
break
straight
this
away.
guy. And I think this is the point where we realise now that this building is now achieved. I can take this out. So
there's nothing I can do to prevent you from taking that building now.
Exactly. So basically, what I've got to do is just run a guy upstairs here, DM the guy,
and keep another guy downstairs. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so we go here, and at this point, there's no spots in this building that are either adjacent or runnable away from. And we capture this one here, and that's the 4 with 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just scoot around and see what happens on the melees and stuff. But effectively, nothing would have happened up here. We wouldn't have captured these.
Yeah.
So
So I kind of feel like I made a series of little mistakes in that in the sort of second half of that game, which cost me the game. But it was a very good scenario, I thought.
Good fun, wasn't it? It was good fun. I had in the back of my mind this was going to become one of those trying to hunt you down from the top floor and everything. But this building is quite friendly on the attacker, isn't it? There's no issues in terms of stairwells or anything like that to worry about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you can kind of get around both sides. I definitely got lucky on the shot with the Wolverine on the tank on the first shot, and things like your gun didn't quite have the effect, but it did a lot of work afterwards. It broke all these guys.
And the medium machine gun as well. It was quite lucky to get the KIA, wasn't it? But
exactly.
It was a really, really interesting game. A very exciting game, I thought.
It was good fun.
I enjoyed it.
It was good fun. So well played. Thank you for that one. We had good fun. So
and you were moaning that you hadn't won for a while. I think you felt like I mean, I don't really keep track, but you felt like you're on a bit of a losing streak, and you've definitely broken that now.
Did I win? I think I won the last one as well. I think Danish Crossroads. But yes, you're right. I think prior to that, I think you'd had a bit of a streak. So I'm quite happy. I deserved a little streak, not from any play, but just from the coin toss gets, I don't know what it was. We had a few heads on the roll. So no, but anyway, well played for that. Well done. It was a good game, and it was good fun. So
it's a good game.
That was that one. We are going to talk about if I can try and shut this off. It won't let me shut. There we go. We're going to talk about the rules, the Grofaz rules.
Yes.
Now. I think one of the questions really, Martin, is if you were given a list of these rules, because we're kind of exploring them now.
Yeah.
Are you at the point now where you're kind of like you would be like I missed the idea of this idea of getting better and better repairs. I longed for that in this game. I kind of thought that would have been quite a cool rule. Have you found like you've kind of thought about these rules anymore since we've played, or are you just kind of not interested? It's not ISL.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with any of these rules. They're just not the game we play, And I'm thinking if you change them, you change the game, and some of them are more dramatic than others. Obviously, others are more or less inconsequential. But actually, very few of them are completely inconsequential.
Right.
I think. Yeah, I just don't have a strong need to change the rules as they are. I'm happy to play the game as it is.
All right.
We have, unlike most games, we have lots of SSRs. We have special historical rules. We're used to that. So if for some reason you don't think the designer doesn't think it's historical, or it won't be a very good game if you've got vehicle bypass, they can SSR it out or make it difficult, can't they?
Right.
I'm quite happy for these sorts of things as to be SSRs potentially.
If you heard that there was a version 3 of the rulebook coming out next week, would you be excited or would you be hesitant or nervous about the rules changing?
I suppose, if they were bringing out a version 3, wouldn't it mostly be about incorporating new things like, rules from drop zone, and it would and ironing out the sort of the Perez-Sezes and the ambiguities and things.
I think that would be like a 2.1. I don't think that's a 3. I think a 3 would have potentially some of these rules in, or a rewrite of the prisoner rules, or whatever it might be, foxholes.
So my feeling would be that this starts to feel like Dungeons and Dragons, where if you want to follow the hobby, every couple of years you got to lay out a fortune for the latest rules. I don't really want them to change it. I don't mind them improving things, like as you say, 2.1, whatever, 2.2 to iron out things that are wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind them making things optional. Like, so the pleather rule isn't an optional rule, is it? But there's the sort of, because it's been published in an MMP thing now, people might consider that a kind of an optional rule that you can adopt in a whatever. But if they were going to present a few of these as optional rules, maybe. But we wouldn't play it if it was an optional rule.
No, and the reason why, I think, from my perspective, is I wouldn't want to get used to a nice thing, some of these rules. I would hate to go back to the boring way of repairing weapons.
Yeah.
Or the fun of...
Because like me and you might be playing it the way you like it, because we'd probably be doing it your way.
Yeah.
And then we go to a tournament and you'd have to play the old way. Yeah.
Which is why I don't play with the IIFT. I think that if we all played with the IIFT and it wasn't even talked about, I wouldn't have an issue with it. You wouldn't even worry about it. And it's only because nobody plays with it because it wasn't popular.
Well, certainly not in the UK. I don't know about the US. I don't think Europe. Full stop. I'm not sure, but
no, I mean there are definitely players that would prefer to play it. I would quite happily play it if the problem is, like,
I wouldn't mind playing it. I just want it to be standard. You sit down and play somebody, and you get the rules out, and you play the game.
Would that be the craziest thing if version 3 said IIFT is now the rule? Would be.
I could get my head around it, but it wouldn't be I'm not voting for it, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't lose much sleep over it.
I don't know. So the objection, I'm not going to get into a big debate about this, but I think the objection is just it's a bit more fiddly. Like, I don't like. And I'm not including the light machine gun, by the way, in this shot because it has no effect. I don't like doing that. It's a bit gamey. Right, number 11. We haven't talked about these, so we've got 5 to talk about here, and then we will talk about Toby's reaction, which we haven't heard yet.
Yes.
So number 11. It's funny because we've been playing this rule wrong all our lives. When you want to reveal a unit, so when temporarily removing a concealment to force another player to lose concealment, the player only needs to show a good order unit, not any weapons. I think we've always just played it like that. Just showed you.
I think it is how we've always played it. Yeah. Me and you. So we should have been showing the weapons.
Yeah. Ammo counts, all sorts of stuff. Give you the full breakdown of this guy's. And
so I would not object to this particular rule, as it's how I've always played it.
Yeah.
But we need to play it properly from now on.
So then it says optional rule. This is quite fun. So amongst friends or those who live in a high trust society, the player need not reveal the unit nor the location where the unit is located. So I think I couldn't work out if that was saying, for example, like if it's in a hidden entrenchment or a pillbox maybe or something like that, and you reveal the unit, or whether it's 2 different units in different places. One of them can see it, and you just say, "Hey, I can see it, but I'm not telling you from where."
I think it's the second one there,
right?
And that makes quite a big, because that way you get no intelligence, do you? You get no extra information from moving out into the open, which at least is one of the benefits of moving out. Of moving where you can be seen, is you get to find out where one of the enemy units is.
The problem with this, sorry,
go on. I was finished. Yeah.
The problem with this is that a little bit like the blind scenarios that we've played, if someone makes a mistake, the other person can't rectify it.
That's true.
And so you have this. It's not the trust. I trust you. I trust you with my mother, Martin.
You're a fool. You're a fool.
but I don't trust her with you. But anyway, but the problem is.
Do you have standards?
What are you saying? But the problem we have here is that you can't be certain that the person hasn't made a genuine mistake, and that may be a game-changing mistake.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, to be fair, I think the ASL society is a high trust society. Like, if that was the rule, I would trust my opponent to do it. But yeah, you're right. There would be genuine mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly that. Exactly, and it's not the.
And you know what? We make a lot of mistakes with a bit of wishful thinking. You know, someone moves, I think you can see him there. You know, and you kind of like you jump on it without perhaps thinking carefully enough. I think we would, there'd be problems. There'd be fights. There'd be blood.
Well, the other thing is, like, imagine you've got a string from a unit, right? But you now have to ask the person to turn away. Not only are they trusting that you're doing that properly, they're trusting you're not having a peek under the concealment counter, so you're not doing anything else that you might want to do. It's a very
so I think it's I kind of think I like the rule as it is. Yeah. Like revealing, you get something for it. You know, that's
and the idea about showing a weapon rather than not showing a weapon rather than showing a weapon.
Well, that's the correct rule. Isn't I'm quite happy for that to be the. Yeah. I'm happy either way with those. I think.
All right.
Okay. Whatever the rule is.
All right. So this one's interesting. So when a multi-man counter for detection casualties, when he bumps in and uses non-assault movement into a concealment or a hip unit, he's got to do a pin task check. And if you fail that with a 6, you take a casualty reduction. And if an SMC bumps in, they have to take a search casualties dice roll with a -1 if you're not using non-assault. That's an interesting rule, isn't it? And I think it's one of those funky kind of ASL things about bumping units and this, that, and the other. What's your thoughts?
So I've always very often when you bump something, you no. What I was going to say is, I've always thought it was a little bit unfair that a searcher has a fairly high chance of suffering casualty reduction when it finds something, but bumping is a little bit safer, a little bit cheaper. Obviously, you can be fired at, but if you're in a stone building and stuff, you're a fairly good chance of getting away with it. And casualty reduction is, in most circumstances, probably worse than a break, because you can rat away, can't you? And you can come back at full strength. So that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I think that's often one of the misplayed rules I've seen quite a lot is when you bump in and people reveal the whole stack, and that's it's only by random selection the unit that you reveal. Yeah. And if one unit is revealed, you can't bump again. So there is that ability. If you've got a leader and a unit, you will keep some, unless you're unlucky with a random selection. You will generally keep concealment of one of the units, so you don't, you keep the element of surprise for close combat or whatever for the ambush roll.
I've even seen like broken units being kept near the front for exactly that purpose. Right. With the dummies, you can't bump. Well, the dummies or the concealed units, you can't bump them because there's a broken unit there.
Got it. Yeah.
That could have routed back, but was kept for that purpose.
Okay. Yeah. So the next one is all around bypassing vehicles that can't cause concealment loss if they stop in that location. Yeah, I mean, that's a weird one to me, like when you have a nice big stack and you are sitting there waiting to, reveal something, and the tank can just park outside and suddenly peer through the windows and see exactly what you've got. So it does seem a bit strange. I'm happy with that. I think there's the weird thing about they have to keep a task check, don't they, if they want to keep concealment. I don't quite know how that has an effect.
So that's if you are, for example, in a wood and the vehicle isn't in bypass, but drives straight into the wood.
Okay.
I think that's when they do the task check.
Because if you don't want to do an overrun attack or a reaction fire attack, you can do a task check to keep the concealment.
That's right. Yeah.
And then
I think that's right. Yeah.
Right.
But it's the rules are different in bypass to when it comes straight into the location.
Okay. And then optionally, optional human wave. So human waves, the Russians, is only applicable through 1940, unless by SSR. Now, this is one of those Americanisms, applicable through 1940. Does that mean till the end of 1940? I assume.
I think it means from the 1st of January 1940 till the 30th of 31st of December.
So not 39?
No, I think it means just in 1940.
Just in 1940. Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's what I think. That's what that means.
All right. Okay. Wow.
Because yes, it's not. That's not instinctively the way a UK English speaker would say it, is it? But I think that's, as you say, it's an American way of saying it.
Through 1940. Okay. So yeah, all the way through 1940.
But don't forget that Russia wasn't involved in the. Well, but it was involved in a war because it was fighting.
If you ask the Russians, they weren't involved. Yeah, but I know.
So actually, when do they invade Poland? Finland? Is that in?
No, that's way early. That's early. But
Well, I know it's but is it in 1940 or is it in 1939?
It's 40.
I don't know.
I think it's 40 because I think they think that the war starts when Germany attacked them, which was 42, wasn't it?
So in terms of scenarios, Finnish scenarios would take place in 1940. So it would be, for this rule, Russians would be able to use human waves.
Right. But not...
there isn't a problem with 1939 because Russia's not engaged in the war.
They were in Poland, weren't they, in 39?
Well, yeah, but there's very little fighting, if any, is there? It's.
I think you asked the Poles. I don't know. I think it wasn't there.
Well, I think they were busy. They were busy fighting the Germans, weren't they? And then the Russians suddenly appeared.
Yeah.
I'm not
sure. Okay.
Yeah, I've never heard of a scenario in 1939 with the Russians.
Let's just find out the Winter War, Russia, Finland. Let's get some accurate numbers here.
Let's get some accurate details. So
30th of November, 39.
So it is in 39. Yeah. So if you use this rule, the Russians wouldn't be permitted to use human waves in the early Finnish scenarios.
Yeah.
And then it's interesting, isn't it?
On New Year's Day, they remember what they can do, apparently. But again, that's subject to our understanding of American English, which is dubious at best.
Yeah.
I think that's...
So the thing is that with this, really, I mean, people don't tend to use human waves with the Russians very often. They use them with the Japanese equivalent, obviously, and I think the Chinese can use them, can't they? But I can't remember ever seeing anybody use them with the Chinese.
They have the Dare Death squads, don't they?
They have Dare Death, but I think they might have Human Wave as well.
Okay.
But you don't see Russians using Human Waves very often. And I wonder if the reason is because it's not often. It's actually quite difficult to set up with the Russians, isn't it? Because it's got to be on average, two squads.
Yep.
And you don't really want to be sort of charging across open ground 2 squads deep, do you? I think that's so. I think it's a very specific situation which you only use perhaps in certain situations.
Okay.
So I don't see the reason for wanting to make that rule. I don't see the purpose of it.
Yeah, it's just a historical one, isn't it? That feels like it should be coped by SSR, I think, more than by a rule book.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if you feel this isn't the way that Russians, would have behaved at this time, then.
Yeah.
Then just SSR it out as the designer. Yeah.
Number 15 is interesting, and I've heard this one before. People asking for this. Vehicle crews count as SMCs for control purposes, so they can't control buildings but they can hold on to them. Basically, is the nuts and bolts of that. That would alleviate every single SSR that says vehicle crews can't voluntarily abandon their vehicle.
Yeah.
This would have been, I think, a perfect one-liner in the rule book that would have saved a lot of angst around the unhistorical use of crews. I mean, I would be happy to see that in a scenario. I don't know many scenarios that you need to jump. I think the scenarios that you need to jump the crews out of to capture buildings are broken scenarios that weren't considered as part of that play test or whatever.
I suppose what would end up happening is, you'd abandon it. You might do something even more unhistorical, which is you capture the buildings with infantry, but you want your infantry to move on to capture the next building. So you move your you get your crew out of your vehicle just to occupy and sit in a building, kind of thing.
How many
perhaps.
how many times in ASL have you had a crew reoccupy a vehicle?
Yeah, I don't know that I ever have. I can't
So
remember a time when I have.
yeah, I mean,
You know, there's rules for like capturing tanks
well,
and
we
stuff.
know J.R. Tracy's game against me. He had an amazing game against me. It was one of my favourite games where I was destroying him. I had in my hands the victory against J.R. Tracy, and he captured one of my Tiger tanks, which was the most awful thing to happen. My guys abandoned the tank, then he killed the crew, and then just ran another one of his crews up, got into the Tiger, turned it around, killed one of my own Tigers. I mean, it was horrendous, but it doesn't happen enough. I mean, that's one of the things I think is
I
kind
mean,
of
I
funny.
think you can capture them with ordinary infantry. I mean, they have all the modifiers to whatever, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you have to. It's one of those times when you can deploy into a half squad kind of automatically
Okay.
if you're capturing a tank, and you can do it in close combat and stuff. But yeah, I don't see that stuff very often.
We're going to go to Toby's thoughts in a second about this, but
Yeah.
I had this thought, and I'd like to talk to you about this, but I can talk to you about it now. What about the idea of a little, I don't know whether to call it a little booklet or a little task list of great things that people have to do in games, like achievement unlocks, right? And if you can get proof of it, we could do this, right? So we could come up with a list if you think this is a good fun thing to do. A list of things you've got to be able to do, and you need to be able to back it up with evidence. So I want a log file of the snippet of this happening, or a signed picture of your opponent holding up a thing saying this actually happened, or whatever. Things like, I don't know, the hero on mounting an anti-aircraft machine gun causing an effect, a break or something like that on an infantry, winning the last game on a close combat dice roll, losing the last game, a whole list of achievements that we can come up with. Okay.
Yeah.
One of them would have been, for example, having a double one to hit and a double one to kill. All right, things like that. They're little things that are going to be kind of fun to have. And then we'll have a prize for the first person that can give us proof of all those things happening to them, over the next year. We have this list of things, and people might try to set up environments where they can, okay, I'm going to
Where it's
play.
more likely to happen.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't mind that.
Take out a tank with a single man counter and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things. I look through the rulebook. There's lots of things I've never done or seen done or whatever.
Yeah, capturing a opposition tank,
Yeah,
and things like that. These are good things to do.
Snowdrifts. I've never had a snowdrift form. Have you ever had a whole building collapse when it's on fire?
I've had buildings collapsing through tanks driving into cellars.
Yeah, certainly I've had that sort of thing happen.
Fire,
yeah, I certainly had a building. Yeah, I think is there a rule about that? I think there's a rule about that. Anyway. Oh, and jumping. You can jump from buildings into water with single man counters, can't you? But it has to be very, very close to the water.
That's the one that's got to be
a
counter width. Isn't that the one that's got to be a counter width?
I think it is.
Something like that.
Yeah. I've never seen a situation where that was remotely looked like it was the best thing to do.
If we set this up and we do this and we publish a list of things for people to do, there will be games played where single man counters will be jumping out of buildings for no reason at all. But yeah, that sounds like quite fun. Right, let's find out what Toby says about
let's do that.
These things.
Okay, looking at a few more of the proposed rule changes. Number 11, temporary removal. When you're someone's moving towards you and you temporarily reveal a unit to reveal them. I already do what the suggestion, so I never reveal the support weapon it may be holding, but I'll always reveal a unit, or I'll just say, oh, it's a 468 here. So that's fine by me. I don't think I agree with the complete and utter trust option, saying someone somewhere can see you. I don't really agree with that. I think, but each their own. It's optional anyway, isn't it? The 12th one, detection casualties, is interesting. This is one that will make the game more realistic and stop one just charging single man counters into concealed units to reveal them. Well, not stop it, but make it more dangerous to do so. It's not a bad idea. As I say, I'm coming around to these. I'm coming around to these rule changes because I think they're exciting in a sense. They're exciting because they change our game, make it more interesting, I think. 13th, VBM and concealment. Yeah, again, I'm not against this. It once again makes vehicle bypass movement yet less useful because you can't just end your movement phase in bypass and say, okay, reveal that concealed unit. So, once again, I agree with that. Probably more realistic. Probably favours the defender again. As we've said before, most of these changes so far favour the defender, which is interesting, isn't it? Which is interesting. Human wave stuff doesn't, fine. Bring it in from 1940. Vehicular crew control. This is one of those so-called grudge rules that I completely agree with. So I totally agree that vehicular crews should count as single-man counters for control purposes. It is ridiculous to have this last turn abandonment of vehicles and advance in to claim buildings. It's a sleazy tactic. And in P. Destroy's and Chris Matzai's excellent scenario sets, they establish this as a rule anyway. So I say do it. Those are my thoughts, really. That's all for now.
So that was good. We kind of strongly agree with most of Toby's opinions there, I think, didn't we?
Yeah. I was surprised. He was surprisingly positive, actually, because he's been negative about quite a few.
And do you know what, right? So that may be, he used the word excited. And I think if a version 3 rulebook, now, the more I think about this, the more I come around to the idea of, I think it's a refreshing set of changes that breed a whole lunch, because we don't know the rules off by heart, but we know the rules off by heart, in terms of what we're playing and how we play the game. And to have a whole list of new things to think about, now I can't do this, or, this is a little bit more tricky, or let's get excited about repair rolls all of a sudden, whatever it might be. I'm all right with all this bits and pieces. In fact, I kind of hope they do now start making any changes.
It's kind of, and it was only you moaning earlier about how expensive the hobby's getting, but you're all up for a new rule book, a new electronic rule book, a new. But it was quite interesting that that Toby also plays it incorrectly in the same way that we do. I think we're playing that incorrectly.
He probably learned fast, didn't he? We probably taught him some bad habits.
Well, it must have been. Yeah, I'm sure he learned most of it from us. But Toby and you and me play all sorts of people, and no one's ever pulled me up on that and said, "Hang on a sec, show us the other counter."
And this goes back to the thing about the other person can't necessarily know if that other counter is a leader or a weapon, so they're not able to sort of say, unless they could ask, I suppose. But it's one of those awkward things about, right, I assume that's a leader or whatever. So that's tricky. But anyway, interesting. Yeah. So I guess we're gaining some traction with these thoughts of these rules. Yeah.
Interesting.
Starter kit tournament, Martin. We've got this going. I've coded up the round robin functionality.
Yes.
So we have 4 players playing in the starter kit tournament: Chris Larkin, Joseph Alberti, Matt Quinton, and Christopher Blair. They will be playing Enter the Young in the first round. They will be playing Flaming Star in the second round, and Joseph 351 in the third round. And we're giving them a couple of months each round to play those games. So they have emails out now to be able to play that. We're excited to follow their progress.
Looking forward to those. Looking forward to seeing those games.
And I wasn't sure. I picked these scenarios. I wasn't certain the complexity of which to pick. You seem to think this is all right in terms of we've got some that start off fairly basic, and then we've got vehicles at the end. So hoping that these guys are going to be able to. I'm assuming that one of them out of the 2 will be able to help the other one if they haven't played vehicles before or anything like that. But maybe these are seasoned starter kit players and.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a lot of people play starter kit are not beginners. They play starter kits, and they don't. I mean, I suppose a lot of us ASL players see it as a stepping stone to advanced squad leader, but I don't think everybody does. So they could be very skillful players.
I was really shocked, right? So I haven't paid a lot of attention to the rally point scenarios. I've got most of the rally points, and I thought I'll flick through rally points. These are all starter kit compatible, so therefore, this will be fine. The scenarios in rally point are, you wouldn't be surprised to see any of these scenarios in Schwerpunkt or in modules or whatever. They are as complex in terms of unit composition as other things. So I think maybe we should look at some rally point scenarios as a nice little kind of palette cleanser, if you like, to some of the more complicated ones, and just show actually these are quite nice scenarios in their own right.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely not played enough of them.
Yeah. Would you encourage starter kit players to transition to advanced squad leader, or is this just it's just up to people?
Yeah, do you know what?
Individuals?
Right. If you can play with vehicles in starter kit format, you can cope with full ASL. You can absolutely cope with it. I don't believe, like I sometimes go onto other board game forums where they talk about what's the most complicated board game you won't play or whatever it might be, and ASL always comes up, right? And I don't understand it. I get the idea that you've got a massive thick rule book and that's crazy, but you can play, and I have played with my kids where I've said to them, okay, like, I'll help you out. You push, you decide what you want to do and I'll talk you through it. And I've played with, I remember, years ago, I had a brother-in-law, and I kind of gave him a couple of games. He didn't know anything about it, so he didn't need to know anything about it. I showed him the units, showed him what he had to do, and was like, okay, right, now you can shoot or you can move these guys. Okay, you want to move this? Where do you want to move him to? Right, that's 1 point. That's and you can do that, and you can get through it. You've taught a guy at one of the tournaments.
I've taught quite a few people over the years. I think that you can get teach someone the basics so they can play a game in 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
I think it's a basic infantry scenario. If you try to sort of ignore the nuance, it's relatively straightforward. Movement is straightforward, isn't it? Firing once you know how to calculate it, it's not complicated. Right. I suppose if you're moving from starter kit to full ASL, you've got different levels, haven't you? In buildings, you've got concealment, fire lanes, bypass.
Right,
and that's kind of it, isn't it? That's the
kind of those. Heat of battle, I think, might not be in starter kit again. It might be out of date for this kind of stuff now. But I mean, look, we're always going to say ASL is a lot more accessible than people think it is, and I know the issue is things like how do you get the whole set? I mean, I think coming in right now, trying to figure out how do you get all the boards. If you want to play physically, it would be a bit difficult. But I mean, it's no more difficult than, I play a lot of Arkham Horror these days, the card game, and it's no more difficult than that in terms of complexity. And I would argue that Arkham Horror has some more complex situations from a strategic point of view. ASL is usually you've got to push forward at a certain point, or you've got to pull back at a certain rate. You've got to get some movement, but it's strategically not that complex in terms of a scenario point of view. I mean, campaign it gets a little bit more so. Other games certainly can provide a higher strategic complexity, in terms of what should my overall strategy be? Have I got to pivot my strategy because of what this person's doing? That kind of stuff. I mean, and the other thing we should talk about is that you did your excellent tabletop talks videos. Yeah. So if people are,
I think if someone didn't know how to play ASL, they could play a basic game after those. I think 100%.
So they're YouTube videos, tabletop talks on this channel somewhere, and you did 4 scenarios. 4 little scenarios. The patrons can get hold of those scenarios if they would.
That's right.
And that's. Whilst we talk about patrons, we have to say a big thank you to everybody who is supporting the archive and this channel for all their support. Thank you again. You know the benefits by now, but you're getting access to the nice vehicle graphics. You're getting access to the tournaments if you want to, the scenarios that we do, bits and pieces. You are in the middle of doing a playtest. Did you get any feedback from anyone doing any scenarios for the Norwegian set?
I haven't heard from anybody, no. Right. It might be worth, but I haven't heard. So if anybody is interested.
$175 we're going to charge for that pack. We're not going to charge $175 for that pack. No. But we'll see if we can get some drum up some interest as well for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, Martin. Well, I guess maybe something from Rally Point next, or I don't know, maybe something else that we'll think of. Any thoughts at the moment? No thoughts?
No. You just sprung that one on me. I haven't. But I'm keen to get on with it. I'm in a bit of an ASL sort of mood at the moment. I quite enjoying playing.
And
Not that I don't normally. I obviously always enjoy playing, but yeah, I'm definitely kind of hankering for games.
You played your tournament. We won't spoil any results, but you've played your tournament round against Rob Oller.
Yes.
So well done for that. You have succeeded your task. My game is scheduled for next week against Richard Webb, I believe.
And I love the scenario.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, this is
Pete Schilling's End of the Line, which is based on the map of Slaughter at Ponyri. Yeah.
Okay. Well, another reason to buy the module then.
I guess so. Yeah.
We'll have bought it before the end of this video.
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
Martin,
we will.
Well, until then, catch up with you again soon, and we'll speak again soon. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All.